So in doing the topic by being able to describe a special day and some festivals, some different celebrations. So as usual, you need to do the exercises where we tell you to, and then make a note of the vocabulary that we ask you to, just so that can help you with your final piece of work at the end of the lesson, which you're going to submit to show my homework. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to read and you're going to read these three texts, the one from Mariam, Albert and Fair, and then you need to decide which different celebration they are talking about. So that is number 1, 2, 3 or 4, and then you're also going to match the picture of the activity or the place that is described. I have given you a list of keywords on the right hand side, so write them down. They're going to help you towards the end of the lesson when you need to do some of your own work, and they will also help you to understand these three different texts. So remember, you don't need to know all of these words. When you're doing any Spanish work, you never ever need to know all of these words, so don't get demotivated or disheartened if you're struggling. So the way that I would work through it is look for the words that I do know. So if you look at the first one that says Mariam, so you've got celebramos, which looks like celebrate. You've got final, final, end. You've got Ramadan, which is Ramadan. You've got rutina, which looks like routine, especial, special. So already that might give us a couple of clues of which of them different festivals or celebrations it may be. So remember, never ever spend all of the time thinking, right, what does ayer mean, what does fue mean? You only need to look for your key words that are cognates, so words that are looking like the English. I'd say that this should take you maybe 5 minutes to write down the vocabulary, to read through them 3 different boxes, and then to match them up with the pictures and the different days. Once you've done that, you can move on and check your answers. So during this topic, we've been looking at reflexive verbs, and reflexive verbs are generally verbs that you use when you're talking about your daily routine. So getting up, going to sleep, having a bath, having a shower, getting dressed. And normally in Spanish, we see the infinitive, and the infinitive, which we have looked at over the past couple of weeks, is a verb ending in AR, ER or IR. So if we have a look at the one here that we're using, it would be acostar. So that would be the infinitive, acostar. Now, if you looked for that word in a dictionary, it would actually be acostarse with an SE on the end, because it's something called a reflexive verb. So you don't need to worry too much about reflexive verbs, you just need to be able to recognise them and be able to change them slightly. So you are going to put these into the preterite tense. Remember, the preterite tense is something that happened once in the past. So acostarse is to go to bed. Me acosté is I went to bed. Te acostaste, you went to bed. Se acostó, he or she went to bed. Nos acostamos, we went to bed. Os acostáis, you all went to bed. And se acostaron, they went to bed. So that what you're going to do with them verbs, you've got the different people, I, you, he, she, we, you, they. You are going to change these verbs, these reflexive verbs at the bottom, to be similar. So if we go through the first one together, despertarse, you are just going to look at how you got from here to there, and you're going to follow that same pattern. So it would change to me at the start, and then desperte, because we've taken off the AR, and then we've added the correct ending, and then we've moved SE to the front and changed it to me. So see if you can follow the pattern that you've got here and do despertarse and bañarse, for the same tense. Just follow the pattern. All you're doing is basically changing this start bit. All you're doing is basically changing accost to despert, and then the rest should be the same. Same with bañar. Once you've done that, check your answers on the next slide. So on this slide, you are going to match up the different festivals, which are 1 to 5, to the different descriptions of the festival, which is A to E. This will probably take you a couple of minutes. You might want to use dates to help you, or you might also want to use Google to check these different festivals and do a bit of research of what they are, either in Spain or Spanish-speaking countries, and then your answer is on the next slide. Here you're going to practice some of the vocabulary that you've been working with to make to do a tangled translation. So basically, in this text here, which says yesterday fue un día especial, you are going to change all of it into English. So yesterday is obviously the English, and then you need to put fue un día especial into English. Some of it might be difficult, but if you're struggling, do not worry. You can either use the vocabulary that you should have written down for this lesson to help you. Otherwise, just leave some gaps and fill them in with green pen on the next slide. So on this slide, you're going to use the work that you've done so far, the vocabulary that you've used so far, to change the English into Spanish. If you are struggling, use wordreference.com to help you find individual words, but do not just Google Translate it all. The whole point of this is in the coloured boxes, so the blue coloured box, it says I got up early. So you need to use the first person in the preterite. So in the preterite tense, what you do is you've got despertar, which is your infinitive. You take off the ending and you add E with an accent, desperte. See if you can either go back to the slide that you had a look at these different endings for and make them into the right word. If you're struggling, do not worry at all, just do what you can. When it's talking about I, it's going to end with E with an accent. It might end with E with an accent, or it could also end with I with an accent if your infinitive is ER or IR. And then have a look at green, we went. We should know the word for I went, and then you've just got to put the ending on for we. And then the red one, we had a special dinner. You've got to say we did a special dinner. So you've got the word hicimos, which is we did. So that should help you a bit more. So finally, the thing that we want you to do this week is use everything that you've learned from this lesson, the vocabulary that you've written down, and so on, to write your own short paragraph about your own special day, which could be your birthday, a festival, Christmas. It could be one of the festivals that you've looked at this lesson. It is up to you which you do. If you struggle with the lesson, maybe pick something easy or one of the festivals from the start, so that you can just change it to fit your own description of what you did and how you celebrated. Your success criteria is here with a couple of keywords to help you. Obviously, if you're getting different tenses in, that gets a higher grade. You should be using the past tense, the past preterite, so they're the verbs that we've used this lesson, because obviously you're talking about something in the past. But even better if you're confident with the near future by saying voy a and then the infinitive, you could put a future tense in. So you might want to use voy a celebrar. I am going to celebrate. So you might say, this year I celebrated my birthday here, but next year I'm going to celebrate my birthday there. Remember, just a short paragraph. Make sure you're using the lesson to help you and all the vocabulary. Don't Google Translate it, because we will be able to work out if it has been Google translated. And obviously, as you're going to be starting your GCSE course in September, you need to be making sure that you are doing what you can to keep your Spanish going whilst we are doing our home learning.